All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Political Soul Food. Another day, another topic. Here we are, here to grow, to dine on food for thought. Thanks for tuning in once again. I'm going to put you on to some intro music so that we can give people a chance to chime in and get down. I'm ready to dig in. I'm ready to dig in. We are talking about Roger Stone, and we're going to talk about so much stuff, RussiaGate, and of course, we want to get into whether or not Trump is the worst U.S. president. So let's rock and roll with all that juicy stuff there, because it's very important for us to get into, given the stakes, the high stakes. So we'll be right back after this quick intro break. Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, my boy GD Stokes in the house. Yes, yes, yes. We're about to chop it up right now. We're talking about Roger Stone, RussiaGate, and whether or not Trump is the worst U.S. president. I have some thoughts on that. What are yours? So let's get down. Let's get down here. So what's going on? You know what happened today, okay? Roger Stone was arrested, right? And so some people may say, well, what's the big deal? What is the big deal with Roger Stone being arrested? Well, first things first, is that Roger Stone is a long-standing political operator for the Republican Party. So let's get that. A long-standing operative for the political party. Second, he is a confidant of the president. Okay? So get this straight. He's entrenched in the legacy of the party. He's entrenched in the history of the party, which means he's for the cause. He's someone that works hard to make the party, the Republican Party, successful, to carry out its agenda. Okay? We can take this guy all the way back over the course of I don't want to say countless, but several presidencies. And he's been around for a very long time, very much involved. Okay, so this is not, he's no newbie, he's no amateur, he's not a guy sitting on the bench. So let's just get that straight. Not only that, I mean, we can say that about other politicians, but he's also a very close advisor to the president, Donald Trump. What does that mean? Well, it means that Trump had to pick this guy to be a part of his inner circle. Trump had to select this guy to give him advice, to hook up meetings, to give him ideas on how to fulfill the agenda. So that's who Roger Stone is. And if you want to get into more specifics, then you go do that. But the general picture is that Roger Stone is no stranger to the Republican Party, and he's not a stranger to Donald Trump at this point. So now, what does that mean? Well, this guy's arrested, and he's indicted on 7 counts for obstruction, witness tampering, making false statements. Okay, and this is related to the Russian attack on the 2016 presidential elections. As someone says here, G.D. Stokes says Roger Stone is the cornerstone of building this Trump case. Absolutely. He's one of the major cornerstones. Okay, so going back to the question, what does this mean? What does this tell us about Donald Trump's presidency? Well, it lets us know that Donald Trump's presidency is immersed in corruption. It's immersed in perhaps treason. Okay, so this is serious business. Well, why do you say this, Kasaun? Well, if we look at the indictments, okay, Stones and others, many others, and I'll remind you of some others who are part of this whole scandal. What we can see by looking at the charges, the kind of issues that Trump's presidency is involved in. Okay, now some people might say, well, slow your roll, because you don't want to fall into the mistake of saying someone is guilty by association. But in this case here, the association was created by Trump. Trump is the center of this corrupt community. In other words, Trump being the centerpiece of the Republican Party, being the person who represents the party, being the person that everybody works to make sure he wins, which he did, to make sure his agenda gets through, which some of which is happening, then we can show that there's a connection, a direct connection between the people who are indicted and Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump is hand selecting these people and he's benefiting from their action. And not only that, Trump even himself confessed unwittingly his awareness of what's going on. He, in fact, invited Russia to work on his behalf using espionage to go against another Democratic, party, the Democratic Party. So I think that we are past the where's the smoking gun. I mean, the reason why we need to even get even closer is because Trump is effectively protected by the Republican Party and the NRA, because all of their hands are dirty. Their hands are dirty. Okay, we have found Russian operatives in cahoots. We have found Russian operatives hanging out at parties. We have found Russian operatives making donations, making connections. We have found Russian operatives inside the GOP. I think the GOP, the Republican Party, should consider changing its name. Republican Party for Russia. So, the Roger Stone arrest is letting us know, first of all, or at least reminding us, that this is no witch hunt, really. I toy around and play around with the word witch hunt because that's what a lot of Republicans like to refer it as, so that they could deflect and reduce the seriousness of the situation. But this is no ordinary witch hunt. This is way beyond Benghazi. Because really what's on the line here is treason. Okay? Treason is on the line. Yes, indeed. So Roger Stone's arrest confirms a few things. One, that the White House is a swamp. The Republican Party is a swamp. It's a very dirty, corrupt, and treasonous swamp. And that, the good news, we're getting closer to cleaning up a lot of the garbage. a lot of the bacteria in the government that is spreading like a virus. That is true. J.D. Stokes said Hillary Clinton told us at the Trump-Clinton debate. She sure did. Surely she did. Many had no idea what we were up against. I mean, well, I can understand people not being aware whether or not, gerrymander was happening. That happens and stuff like that. But we should be aware of that. But I don't think anyone really knew beyond, let's say, maybe President Obama and the NSA or the CIA knew how deeply involved Putin was in this. And now we know that the United States is not the only victim of Putin's mechanisms. Okay? He wants to resurrect the Soviet Union. And if not the Soviet Union, he wants to bring Russia up to a status where it's comparable in this world. And listen, this should remind us that those sanctions that Obama placed on Russia, that the Republican Party was trying to make fun of, were actually extremely effective. Very effective. Okay? No doubt about it. Very effective. And that played a role in Putin's quest for revenge. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that right now. So the Roger Stone arrest is bearing so much for us to understand. And I know that this is something that Trump supporters are in denial of. But it's going to be so painful for them to deny this. But surely they will. They're making up excuses already. And they're saying, well, this doesn't prove that Trump was really involved. And, Trump's lawyers and Roger Stone's lawyers are trying to finesse the indictments to say, well, it's really about whether or not he made accurate statements, not really about whether Trump was in cahoots or was even aware of Russia's involvement. But we know that's nothing but a front. They're fronting. They are fronting. Okay, so RussiaGate. RussiaGate is real. RussiaGate is real. Whether or not we find a recording with Putin and Trump going something like, hey, Putin, listen, Donald Trump, we're going to help you get into the White House, and we want you to try to end the sanctions and pull out of NATO and make the EU very weak for me, and pull out of Syria, okay? And don't get involved with the TPP, which will open up more markets for the United States. Don't do that. Okay, we might not find such a recording. However, we are finding tightly knit connections via emails, via conversations, confessions, and also just grabbing people up who are still at work propagating falsehoods, disinformation in the United States on behalf of Putin with the aim of making Trump look good. Okay, so the evidence is all there. The evidence is all there. And as someone said here, J.D. Stokes says, if this was Obama, he would have been impeached 2 years ago. Oh my goodness. If this were Obama would have been carried on a cross throughout every state in this country. Rocks would have been thrown at him. People would have been spitting on him. They would have been telling us, we told you so. He's a traitor. He's a treasonous piece of crap. We told you. They would have said every defiled thing in Satan's dictionary if that was Obama. So we understand that there's a double standard here. Absolutely, there's a double standard here. So RussiaGate is real. RussiaGate is real. think the Democrats will push for impeachment soon. Looking at the abysmal approval ratings that Trump is enduring now, and the fact that he might be challenged by some Republican contenders for 2020, some might say, well, let's use the aura of this scandal to frame the Republican Party as the worst choice, and let's move on to 2020. Maybe something like that. But I think definitely many are beginning to rub their hands. I think many are starting to fire to roast Donald Trump and send them off to impeachment. The only thing is that the House could start the impeachment. They can vote on that, but it goes to the Senate. And he's going to be protected by the Senate because there are many Republicans who are involved and who are aware, who are complicit. Okay, and I'm sure those who are at the center of this collusion. Absolutely. So RussiaGate is real. What's really amazing is that Republicans have long took the stance of being the most patriotic party, right? They gave this impression that, yeah, we are paranoid about security, border security. And yeah, maybe we are war hawks, but it's because we want to protect our nation. It's because we want to keep foreigners out so that American democracy, regardless of how imperfect it is inside the House, will not be manipulated by foreign states. Right? If we go back to the whole pursuit of Russian secrets, and the whole deal with the Cold War we've been up against. We've even been paranoid for a while, trying to find out if there were any Russian spies in the government. Okay, so the whole Red Scare is something that the Republicans have built their reputation on, and it turns out after all of this, the Republican Party is in bed with Putin. Think about that right now. Can you believe that? Seriously, can you believe that? Let me pull up something else here now. So we talked. So RussiaGate is real. I mean, there are a lot of writings on this, articles on this by very legit news sources. Even the intelligence even our intelligence community, a Senate committee have all agreed, have all accepted the evidence in front of us. It's clear. It cannot even get clearer than this. But I am looking for that day when it's even more undeniable for Trump supporters. All right? So, what does that mean? Trump is horrible for the country on many respects. However, there's something that we got to talk about, and some might not like what I have to say here, and I'm down for an open debate on this. It still doesn't mean that Trump is the worst president. He's one of the worst presidents, for sure. Okay, which place he's in is hard to say. Okay, does this mean I don't think he's horrible? No, not at all. I think he's as horrible as you could describe. But let us not forget our boy Nixon. Okay, and his corrupt presidency. All right, Watergate should just remind us. He lied about it. He kept the evidence to it. People wonder why he never burned the tapes or got rid of them. And he tried to cover it up. And he had to declare, like Trump has to declare now, I am not a crook. Right? And so Trump now, if you look at the symptoms of Trump's situation, he has to declare himself, I haven't colluded. I did not collude with Russia or with Putin. So, but Nixon ranks very high. Someone else who ranks high is James Buchanan. I mean, this guy aided and abetted the South the southern states that were in support of slavery. Okay, so that's bad. That is huge bad. He basically colluded with the Supreme Court's decision, 1857 Dred Scott case, right? And that basically protected slavery throughout the country. It meant that, okay, if a slave escapes to a free state, that slave is still the property of some person. James Buchanan was down with that. That's horrible. I don't think anything, well, there's a lot can get worse than that, but that's bad. That is just bad, and that's the circumstance that that was what was going on at the time. And I would say, if Trump were around during that time, and if he happened to be president, he would definitely have voted for the same thing. So that's another person. Andrew Jackson is another one. Andrew Jackson is another one. So James Buchanan is nothing compared to these guys. Well, I'm not sure what you mean by that. But Andrew Jackson's another one. I mean, he's profaned, unprincipled. He's a demagogue. He had no respect for the checks and balances like Trump. And he was in support of genocide. He was very much in support and he was in support of the sort of the slave states. There's no way of me trying to say this in any other nice way. These dudes supported slavery, and most of the first quarter presidents had slaves. Okay, so unless we're going to normalize and contextualize history and say, well, having slavery was natural back then you can I guess give them an excuse. But to be honest, that's horrible. That's a greater crime to humanity. And what about our boy Warren G. Harding? Okay, now he's painted as a guy who was oblivious to the corruption in his administration, and fair, even if you want to give him that, I mean, that meant he was unfit to be president, if that were the case. Okay, if you're going to be so naive that you're going to select people who are going to rob this country dry, to exploit the resources of this country so that you can gain, so that you can put more money in your pockets. If you're corrupt either way, or you're unfit either way. So there's no excuse for Warren G. Harding. And Andrew Johnson, okay, was horrible as well. He was also a slave-supporting president, and he actually pushed for the Carolinas, which redistributed land for former slaves. He actually went against that and redistributed them the property. So this guy here was horrible as well. And again, you would have to say, okay, and I don't know if we should, but comparing Trump to all of this, it just means that there have been a lot of corruption in our country, and Trump is a part of that team. I guess that's my point, really. Whether or not he is the most corrupt, well, it depends on what you want to stress. All of these guys here have done a lot of damage when it comes to finance, when it comes to unconstitutional acts, or even being aware of the Constitution. But one thing that seems to be unique in this case with Trump, and I'm not saying that this is enough to call him the worst president, but one thing that seems to be unique is that he seems to be destroying the country on behalf of a foreign state leader. That seems to be what's going on here, for sure. And so for white Americans who never had to deal, with the question of slavery personally, who were able to live their lives without factoring that as a criteria for morality, they might say Trump is the worst president of the United States. I can see that logic, but then that's normalizing slavery when that happens, and it happens all the time. So don't get me wrong, but it is clear that Trump is one of the worst presidents in the history of the United States, particularly in modern history. But hey, Reagan, I think Reagan takes the cake because Reagan has done much to redistribute wealth, to reset the trend for economic segregation. He dealt what I think is the fatal blow to unions. He championed neoliberalism along with Margaret Thatcher. We see the decimation of many communities, increased poverty, an increase in the influence of a Christian hegemony over the ideas of national identity, of American national identity. So in many ways, Reagan can be understood to be worse in recent history. Indeed. So these are some things to think about. So perhaps we could take a vote here. Let's do a vote. I would like to see. Let me hear from you. Who do you think is the worst president in U.S. history? I'll give you a couple of seconds to let me know. So let's see here. I'm curious about what you all think about that question. Jones Murphy on YouTube says Andrew Johnson. Andrew Johnson is a good pick. I mean, more so than Reagan. I think Andrew Johnson is really up there because he's the most consequential. In other words, he's the most consequential in the direction of where America ended up at since the Civil War, and there's something to be said about that. We see here the backtracking of the sort of liberal, outcome of the Civil War, which is supposed to mean that all human beings are now going to truly be treated equal. We're going to truly be given the access to first-class citizenship. But Andrew Johnson went back on that. In fact, Andrew Johnson is known to have said that this country is a country for white people, and it's a government for white people. And as long, he says, by God, as long as I'm president, this will be a country for white men. Okay, it's not the precise paraphrasing, but those are the key words. And this is Andrew Johnson, and he kept his promise. And he wasn't alone. Again, he was a battering ram like many other presidents, and he followed through on that promise. Okay, he dealt the fatal blow to organizations that were supposed to be set up to distribute federal funding. He gave the okay for the South to mount up discrimination and prejudice, cultures and systems. Okay, so Andrew Johnson is the champion of much of the Jim Crow mechanisms we had to deal with since 1865 for 100 years. Absolutely, I think Andrew Johnson is up there. Anybody else here? Let's see. Wow. Well, this is something to think about. I had a great time talking to all of you. Thanks for tuning back into Political Soul Food, where we come and have down-to-earth chats about what's going on in our society, trying to make change one conversation at a time, along with our other responsibilities and obligations and being proactive. That means hitting the polls. That means teaming up with an organization and even contributing to the cause financially. There are organizations that can use our help one way or another. So make sure you do that. in your spare time and create the spare time to do that. So thank you again for chiming in. Hold the fort in your corners, wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in the States. Raise your voice. Let it ring, let it soar for the cause. Don't mute yourself. Do not be silent. We need every hand on deck. We need every mouth on a microphone. Seriously, it's serious out here, y'all. We have younger generations that are wondering, what they should do. And if we let the conservative propaganda reign, then many will be persuaded without even receiving a choice to think twice about what they see and hear. So we have to step up. Thanks again for supporting. Before we tune out, Soul Brother Jerome says Nixon. Okay, cool. We got Nixon here. I want to say thanks for tuning in. If you're interested in supporting this, please check out Patreon. That's my page for support to do this. Or check out my website. You can see PayPal there if you want to contribute for equipment for me to get around and get guests. There are guests I want to get in here, such as Jones Murphy. My boy Jones Murphy is a deep brother, and there's a lot that he needs to share, and I definitely want to get him here one of these days. So Jones, we got to work that out. And check out Patreon, patreon.com/Kasaun Henry, Kasaun Henry HENRY. If you would like to support this cause, please check that out. But the ultimate support is you showing up here, sending a wave, or spreading the word, or just doing something humane for someone else at the very least. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Political Soul Food. Stay up, stay informed, do your thing out here. Peace and love. See you next time. IG, thanks again for tuning in. Peace out. YouTube fam, it's great to see y'all up there. Thanks for chiming in the discussion. And I'll see you soon. Spread the word. And like the video. Don't forget to like the video. Okay? Cool. Peace out.